Good morning. Good morning. It's Wednesday Wisdom, and we're halfway through the week. So, is your week going the way that you planned, or are you, as Asha and I just were talking about, the list that just gets bigger and bigger and bigger? And as Asha just said, it's not a marathon; it's just a continual journey. So, how is your week going? Are you accomplishing what it is that you're choosing to create in your life? And are you ticking the boxes and completing the things and doing the obvious steps that you need to do, right? Because that's what's happening for me, is needing that pull back, just chill out, and actually start getting some of this list done, because it's getting long. So good morning, Asha. It's lovely to connect in this setting. We've had you here before, but and we used to do spiritual bites together, right?
Yes.
But it's so nice to have an opportunity just to chat and see what you're up to now and what's going on in your life. And I love our subject, our topic of, going from professional to soul-driven entrepreneur. It's such a big topic, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like it's really relevant for so many people at the moment as well. And so it's lovely to be here and to share the time and get the opportunity to chat again. And this topic, one is, I guess, my own personal story. So definitely one close to my heart, and I think every entrepreneur goes from a place of perhaps more certainty or more stability in their life with their work, and then at some point deciding, no, I'm going to jump off the cliff and do things my way and make it work. Agreed. Big topic, multi-layered, and I'm ready to dive on in.
Yeah. And so one of the things, for those that haven't had the pleasure of meeting you in person, or has missed somehow all the stuff that we've done together, and you and Nicolette are still continuing that with the new phase, which we'll have a chat about in a second. But you've been, Nicolette has been putting it into Women of Light. So if anyone wants to check that out, go in and check that out through Women of Light. You'll be able to see those conversations. But Asha, tell us a little bit, your profession has, to go from what you're from your profession into, being a soul-driven entrepreneur, your profession has got so many boundaries around it and limitations, right? So tell us what you were doing before and where you're heading.
Yeah, sure. So I'm trained as a psychologist, and then and I've been pondering a lot this journey. And so people might go, oh, well, what kind of limitations are you talking about? And obviously with any kind of science background, there's going to be a lot of conditioning around how things are done. And they often butt up very nicely with the entrepreneurial mentality, personality traits, and also when you start to hear that voice knocking at your consciousness saying, go this way, go this way, go this way. So yes, I've worked as a psychologist for many years. And then when Corona hit, that voice became really, really loud. And I could either continue to work in a traditional format, and that's very meaningful work for me. I have, I've learned.
You've been very successful in that as well, right? Like you've had a successful, career in that field.
Yes.
I mean, I actually don't know that, but I can just imagine that you would, because I know who you are, right? So
thank you. That's very, I've done a lot of interesting things there, and worked in a number of different environments, and really reaped the rewards from that. And then I think for anyone who has been a part of a system or a profession for a certain amount of time, you start to recognize where the edges are or where the ceiling is in terms of impact, or essentially the downside of doing things in such a structured way or common practice way. And particularly with any kind of scientific discipline, the progress can be very slow, because everything is done in such incremental, tiny ways. And then it's also run through government lenses around what are we going to offer via Medicare, what's the what are the processes involved in that,
the rules and regulations. Yeah,
exactly. And so in terms of Corona hitting, what that really brought to the forefront for me was, okay, our systems are now really clogged, and it also brought up the ethical question for me about, given the pandemic, was it really right to pathologize? So to give a diagnostic label to someone given their response to the pandemic, because I don't know a person.
So true. So true. Yeah.
That hasn't been impacted by the pandemic. We're now dealing with chronic stress, in that it's an ever-evolving landscape, and people's frameworks of how they see the world have fundamentally changed. And so then to stick with the traditional modalities of offering services of, okay, go see a GP, in most cases receive a diagnosis if you want to access via Medicare schemes, then there's wait lists up to 9 months to actually see someone, and then we're structured in availability, in how long you see someone for a time.
Well, because one person, it's not like one person has one session, right? There's a pulling apart and unpacking where they're at, what's going on, what's their past, what's affecting them now, what's triggering them from their past, blah, 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 blah. And that's a period of time. So, you can only see a certain amount of people at a time as one-on-one clients, yeah?
Exactly.
Yeah. So no wonder those waiting lists are so long.
That's exactly right.
Mm.
And it also speaks to how acute levels of stress through this process, in terms of people are facing their own changes to their career, and then the chronic ongoing stress of going, okay, every time we've kind of thought there was light at the end of the tunnel, we're now in the next phase of dealing with this from a governmental perspective, from a medical perspective, from a research perspective. So the goalposts are forever moving at the moment. And so what that really highlighted to me is, with any kind of chaos, essentially, and I think it's fair to say that the pandemic has created a fair amount of chaos.
Yeah.
It's so the perfect and needed time for creative change, because if nothing changes, nothing changes. And we were already seeing a system that was clogged, and if we continue to do things the traditional way, how many people are not going to have access to really beneficial information, skill sets, because we've got professionals indoctrinated as well in a way of doing things, in a way of rolling things out, in a way of speaking about things.
Definitions and terms and what they're allowed to say and what they're not allowed to say. And yeah.
Exactly.
Very restricted.
Yes.
Mm.
And so then I think with the entrepreneur types, they typically have a high degree of creativity. So you will know if you're more of the entrepreneurial spirit, if even if you are in a profession or within a large organization, that when there's team discussions about something going on, you're the one seemingly pulling ideas out of thin air, highly creative, and that's pretty well the number one determining factor of that entrepreneurial spirit and going that way. And so for people of that nature, they often feel the confines much more because it goes against their actual dispositions of how they engage with the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then typically at some point that rub, that friction of perhaps being a square in a round peg in a square hole becomes more uncomfortable than the courage it takes to take the leap of faith and go, right, I'm going to do this and I'm going to find a way.
And I'm assuming that that's what happened with you.
Definitely speaking from experience there.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, has it been a smooth transition?
It's been a transition, like we were talking about earlier, that is an ongoing pursuit, because I think where traditional frameworks around career and job really don't do us any services, in that for anyone we need novelty, and traditional kind of ways of setting up a career is typically about, okay, go and study this, become said profession, and then work your way up a hierarchy to managerial positions, and then, you know, have those positions of status and power and
authority.
Then, right, and get more flexibility right at the kind of more retirement age. And you know, from my experience and from working with other professionals, they get really hungry for freedom and flexibility well before retirement age. So everything that we kind of view around career and career mapping doesn't really map onto our current way of life. And I think people always vote with their time and attention. And what people are now learning is how to use their own inherent skill set and map on their disposition and go, right, how can I step outside the system and make a career this way? And then particularly for professionals, and I can speak to this as well in terms of my own personal experience, it requires a deconditioning of so much.
Yeah.
Things are done, what can be said, learning a whole new skill set, even in terms of jumping on live and chatting in that level of vulnerability to actually speak about our personal experiences. So that's an entire new skill set that so many professionals then look at putting under their belt in order to go on to this next phase. So it has been smooth in the sense that none of the hurdles have been unexpected. However, it's the acknowledgement that it's an ongoing process, and just when you think you've got one thing nailed, like a great product, then there's learning marketing and sales, then there's you know, all the processes that go on behind the scenes.
Absolutely, because when you're a psychologist, right, basically, like, once you get into the system, it's all done for you, because, you know, there's, you know, GPs and Medicare and all that sort of stuff. So to step into that, it's one thing. This is one of the things I talk with my clients that are doing conscious creator business. It's one thing to be a coach, but it's another thing to be a coach in business, right?
Yes. Yes.
Because you've got all those skills, you've got to develop behind the scenes that aren't related to coaching as such. It's the marketing, the sales, the, you know, content creation. It's the, you know, being the influencer, is being online, is like all of those things, right? Yeah. Yeah. And it opens up such, you know, new experiences, and which is what an entrepreneur is all about, right? That creative, you know, like, this is all new. And as you were just saying, that whole process of you know, you knew that these were sort of the things that you were going to have to go through. Very different between knowing something and experiencing it, right? So regardless of the knowing, as you experience something, there's like, this is feeling a bit different to the way I assumed it would, or, you know, like, there's these little aspects that I wasn't even aware of that I need to sort of look at in a different framework, you know, instead. So, yeah, it's a journey. It's exciting. It's fun. I've been an entrepreneur for, you know, 25 years. So I know, I think my son was just born the last time, like I think for the first 6 months of his life, I had a job. And then after that, it was, I've been an entrepreneur ever since. So, and he's just turned 26. So.
Wow, no, that definitely makes sense to me to not say, you know, and it really comes from that place of it feeling like there's no other option, you know, and you're highly creative, and that openness to new experience, and, you know, and the willingness. And then obviously for you, it's very connected to intuition and calling, and that really soul-driven place as well. So it becomes a question of, or kind of a mentality of, I can't.
No, I can't. And, you know, like, I totally relate to people. You know, I have clients that come and they're having issues at work because, you know, that they don't resonate to different people at work, and they've got different mentalities and different frameworks. And I can empathize with them, but, you know, like, I just go, well, get out of there, you know. But it's at the same time, I do remember that, you know, holding that space of who I was even back then, when I really didn't understand that I was a spiritual man, you know, like who I was spiritually, because I hadn't awoken as such, but still being able to hold the space of, this is who I am, and stay in my own integrity, which changed the vibration of the people that were around me. I remember that particular job was with, the nursing unit manager was a Seventh-day Adventist, and I had a nose ring in, and, you know, didn't shave, and, like, you know, so, and looked a bit punkish because my hair was really short and it was brown, you know, or red. And she was like a bit shocked when she first met me. But actually I was 12 months, because I remember she came to me when I was leaving, and she said to me, if you ever need a job anywhere, come and see me, because I will always rehire you. You know, and it was, so it didn't matter what I looked like, but because I held space in my own integrity, and, you know, and the same with the people that were around me. So, you know, you can affect those around you when you're working in a profession. But, you know, at the same time, keeping with the theme, if you're feeling the call to release that, or this is a catalyst, you know, this whole Corona, COVID, that the whole thing is a catalyst to break you out of that system and move you into what it is that you're, you know, what is your real purpose here. And you know, purpose is whatever we define it to be, right? And so it doesn't, there's not one purpose. It's what's your definition of your purpose. And if that's what you're moving towards, this was the catalyst to do it, then, you know, that's when you hold and resist because you want to stay safe in your profession instead, because it's got all of the comforts to it, you'll find that those comforts will eventually start becoming very, very uncomfortable.
That's such a great point.
Yeah.
Yeah, what was once comforting becomes almost like the handcuffs.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a great
So as you're transitioning, because I know that you're still in that process, what is it looking like for you? Because I know you and Nicolette Jane are working pretty closely together and co-creating. So what's happening on that front?
Yeah, so there's quite a bit going on there. Definitely some creative juices flowing. So we do chat. Like you said earlier, we've carried on the tradition, and we'll have to get you on as a guest speaker, because we noticed that you're not there. But yeah, so we chat every week, and we purposefully choose a meaningful topic, and a meaningful topic that's very in line with this kind of journey as well. Because for Nicolette, she also went from a highly structured work environment to then taking the leap and pursuing all of her creative pursuits in going, well, no, this is who I am, and this is how I'm going to contribute, not only in career, but to my family, and then also to the community in that self-ownership. So we pick a meaningful topic each week, which speaks to really the heart of owning your life and owning who you are. And then as of next week, we're opening it up to our subscription process called VIP Chats, which is where our listeners get to then jump on into a private group and continue the discussions with us. And we'll dive a bit deeper with skill set and practices. And people have the opportunity for live coaching there as well.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So it just provides that opportunity of regular touch points as well, because I think with any kind of personal development work, it's the regularity and accountability and consistency that we're continuing to entertain these topics and immerse ourselves in it and breathe them in, so we're then the embodiment of these concepts. And for me, that's really the journey of stepping into a purpose-driven entrepreneurship. Is you are the embodiment of what you stand for and these processes, and you then become a leader for others who recognize, there seems to be some mountains to climb here. I really want to do it. I have the will, and is someone a little bit further along the line that can help me with the roadmap of actually becoming the embodiment and standing and creating these massive career shifts in our life. And it doesn't have to be related to career. It may be more on the family side of things, or perhaps it's someone with traditional family roles that they no longer feel that are in alignment with them. And how do I give myself permission to come out of that? So those regular touch points, as well as a community, is really beneficial along that. And then we've also got a retreat coming up that we're doing together called the Creative Power Retreat. And so that's a real combination of my program, the Diamond Mind, which is the psychological scaffolding to actually move through this transition, bringing in, concepts from neuroscience to quantum physics, to ancient philosophical practices and contemplative practices that are demonstrated to be effective in well-being, and then teaming it on with Nicolette's healing and creative modalities for full expression, and coming together in a really beautiful way to give people hopefully an unforgettable experience where they then get that really immersive experience to focus on the embodiment and kind of get those deeper stretches in for then continuing on their path as well. And then finally, so some very exciting collaborative things happening there. And then I'm also launching the Diamond Mind program online for the very first time next month.
Awesome. So there's, I can see why we had our conversation this morning before we got on, like both of us have got this list of things to do, right? So it's a similar experience. And as I was just smiling as you were talking, because it's really interesting how often I get on these Wednesday Wisdoms and the person that's talking is like, there's this alignment of what I've just spoken to, or I'm just about to speak. On a Wednesday, I do my coaching calls with my group, but on a Tuesday night, we do the Conscious Creator Business. And that was what the topic was this whole, are you authentic, and are you being the example to your clients of, embodying what it is that you're teaching and preaching to them, and influencing them around. So all the stuff that you were just saying. And I totally believe, I started getting mentorship 3 years ago, and it just, the acceleration of getting a coach or a mentor or someone to work with, to hold you accountable, to see your blind spots and pick you up on it, and to work in those, levels of, the different growth stages of your life, is so imperative to, unless you want to, to take 10 years instead of 2, then go for it. But, if you want some acceleration, having someone to mentor you through the process is crucial, right? So,
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. And, I attended a workshop recently, because we too are always learning.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And, the person running it said, entrepreneurship is a skill, just like a profession is a skill, just like anything. It's a skill, and success leaves clues. And, when you do feel that real pull towards service and contributing, whatever it is that's been knocking on your consciousness, that's gotten to this point of feeling like it's ready to be birthed, and you're prepared to do that, and all of those things, you do want as smooth a system as possible. And so I couldn't agree more. A mentor, that has already done the trial and error for you is invaluable.
Absolutely. And at the end of Wednesday Wisdom, I always ask, well, I don't always ask, I've just started asking, what is the best advice you've ever been given? And I think you've just answered that for me, unless you've got something else. But that's so true that, success leaves clues, right?
Yes, definitely that. And probably the other point that I would share is, if you are repeatedly coming up against the same frustrations and feeling some kind of glass ceiling, really looking at, okay, is this just the next level of expansion and leveling up in where I am? Or do I take this to do a bit of a deep dive and figure out if this is still in alignment with me? And it's not just success leaves clues, but who you really are also leaves clues.
Oh, that's so true. Yeah.
Yes. So
and it will smack you in the head if you don't listen eventually, right? Yeah.
That's right. So for anyone who's kind of on the fence, one thing that I encourage people to do is kind of look back over their life history and go, well, what have I repeatedly come back to, you know, and over a process of time, I keep kind of circling back to similar things that light me up. Within particular settings, what role do I tend to play in an authentic way, not in a role ways I feel like I have to do this. However, when new circumstances come up, because a new circumstance is a good indicator of how I naturally am, because those things are going to be more on the front foot, provided that you're not in fight, flight, or freeze. So who am I in new circumstances? How do people lean on me? And then also, who are the mentors or key people in my life that at some point in time held up a mirror to me to indicate who I really am as well? Because there's the deep knowing, and then the clues are also reflected back to us along the path. So just as a quick example, when I was going through masters, I had a really brilliant supervisor who could see me clearer than I could see myself at that point, because I was so invested in just diving in and becoming the best psychologist that I could be. So, you know, learning all the content, learning the skills. And when I was coming into contact already back then with butting up against the system, he was able to reflect back to me who I really am so much clearer than I could see myself, because it was the first time I was actually in it. So, and what he just reflected back to me is, one, Ash, I think you're too extroverted to really be a psych. As much as I'm more on the introverted side for other entrepreneurs, he said, you're too extroverted to be a psych, you're going to get bored. And he also...
So funny.
Yeah. And he also said, you're a trailblazer. And at that point in time, I had no idea what he was talking about. No idea. I just went, oh, that's kind of a bit odd. And it wasn't until I looked back and to that point of standing on the cliff going, do I jump, do I not? Kind of taking into account, you know, key figures in my life that had pointed out and reflected back some of my truth to me, that I went, this really does make sense. And
Yeah.
I'm more hurt if I don't jump than if I do.
Yeah, which is that the comfort zone gets uncomfortable, right? Yeah,
Yes.
Absolutely. And how long were you a psych after that? After he said that?
Probably. I was a bit of a slow learner, so probably that was early on in my masters. So 8 years.
Yeah. I remember my massage teacher was walking around when I was doing my diploma, and she came up to me and she grabbed my hands and she looked at my hands, because these are bigger than they were now, and she said, oh, you're not going to last, your hands are too small. And like they've grown, they've become bigger because 25 years of massaging, right?
Of course.
Yeah. And and she laughed and she said, you're not going to make it, you know, like, but yeah, it's funny, isn't it? You know, because you can, when you're passionate about something and you are passionate about supporting people and helping people to see who they are.
Yes.
Then you do it in the framework, and you know, obviously it was foundational stuff ready for this opportunity now.
Yes.
To use that as a foundation to be the soul-driven entrepreneur that you're jumping into. So
thank you.
So lovely to talk. We'll definitely have to chat about doing a guest speaker thing. I think yours is on at the same time as my pause, though, so we'll have to work that out. Yeah.
I'm sure we can figure it out.
Yeah. Because it is fun talking. You guys, you know, it just was feeling, as we know, it all just evolved the way it did. It just felt right to move into doing pause. So, but yeah, we'll have to definitely catch up and do something, because we all just resonate so well together. So nice to have you on here as always, Asha. And if you can put all your details underneath so that people can get in contact with you, find out about the lighthouse, this new program that you're creating or ready to launch, and look forward to catching up again soon.
Thank you so much. And yes, I absolutely will.
Take care. See you, everyone.